Robert Saleh already coaching with Matt LaFleur's Packers in an ironic twist involving Aaron Rodgers after being unceremoniously fired by the New York Jets, despite following every directive and doing his job as expected. It would have been reasonable to think Robert Saleh would take a well-deserved break from the high-stakes world of NFL coaching. After all, who wouldn't need a breather after dealing with Aaron Rodgers' larger-than-life ego, not to mention the circus surrounding the Jets organization? The natural assumption would be that Saleh would take some time to unwind, reflect, and maybe even distance himself from the pressures that come with leading a team under such scrutiny. But in true Saleh fashion, that's not the case. Earlier this week, Saleh joined forces with his longtime friend and colleague, Matt LaFleur, as a part of the Green Bay Packers coaching staff, in a role that is being described as fluid. The pair's friendship goes back to their early coaching days. As both worked their way up the NFL ranks together, their bond is as strong as ever, and now Saleh is stepping back into the NFL world alongside LaFleur in Green Bay. While the specific details of Saleh's role remain somewhat vague, it's clear he will focus on offensive consulting, a humorous twist considering Saleh's defensive expertise. Ironically, he won't be involved with the Packers' defense at all, despite being one of the NFL's most respected defensive minds. Instead, LaFleur is tapping into Saleh's knowledge to help dissect opposing defenses from an offensive perspective, giving Green Bay a unique advantage. Now, here's where the story gets really fun. The sheer irony of this situation is almost too good to be true. After departing from a team where Aaron Rodgers was supposed to be the centerpiece, Saleh now finds himself in Green Bay, the very place Rodgers built his legacy. What do you think Saleh and LaFleur have been chatting about behind the scenes? It's hard to imagine their conversations have been all roses and praise when it comes to their former quarterback. The thought of the two longtime friends reminiscing, perhaps even venting a bit about Rodgers, is tantalizing. After all, Saleh knows firsthand what it's like to be caught in the whirlwind of the Rodgers saga, and LaFleur certainly has his own share of experiences from Rodgers' time with the Packers. To be a fly on the wall in Green Bay's practice facility this week, what a joy that would be. One can only imagine the stories being shared and the irony not being lost on anyone involved. Saleh is now in Rodgers' old stomping grounds, working with the very coach who navigated some of Rodgers' best seasons, but keeping a safe distance from the drama that followed. The situation is a delicious twist of fate. Saleh, after enduring the chaos with the Jets and Rodgers, is back in the NFL fold, but this time with his old friend, and in a role that allows him to breathe a little easier, far from the storm that still hovers over New York. NFL trade news: Green Bay Packers emerge as odds-on favorites to land Myles Garrett. According to betting odds, as the NFL trade deadline approaches on November 5th, Myles Garrett has become one of the most coveted players on the market. The Cleveland Browns' all-pro defensive end is a game-changing force, and while the Browns have not officially signaled their willingness to part ways with him, the team's disappointing 1-6 start has led to widespread speculation. Following the recent trade of key players like Amari Cooper, many around the league believe Garrett could be next. In the midst of swirling rumors, the Green Bay Packers have emerged as the favorites to land the elite pass rusher. Why the Packers are considered favorites? The Packers find themselves in an ideal position to pursue Garrett, driven by a combination of need, cap space, and strategic timing. Green Bay has struggled to generate a consistent pass rush, which has only been exacerbated by Rashawn Gary's injury woes. Adding Garrett to their roster would provide an instant and massive boost to their defensive front. Garrett, widely regarded as one of the most dominant edge rushers in the NFL, would not only elevate their pass rushing abilities, but would also create a formidable tandem with Gary once fully healthy. This duo could terrorize opposing quarterbacks, giving the Packers' defense the firepower it desperately needs. Financially, the Packers are well positioned to absorb Garrett's contract. If traded, Garrett would carry a minimal cap hit of just $806,000 guaranteed in 2024, making him a highly attractive option without forcing Green Bay to sacrifice other critical pieces of their roster. The Packers, benefiting from quarterback Jordan Love still being on his rookie deal, have the financial flexibility to make a move for a high-caliber player like Garrett while planning for the future. Furthermore, the urgency for the Packers is clear. The NFC North is as competitive as ever, with divisional rivals like the Detroit Lions and Chicago Bears also reportedly interested in Garrett. By securing Garrett, Green Bay would not only bolster its own Super Bowl chances, but also prevent a fierce competitor from acquiring one of the NFL's most impactful defensive players. The move would send a clear message that the Packers are all in, looking to dominate the division and contend for the NFC crown. Other teams in the hunt. While the Packers may be in the lead, several other teams are also in the running for Garrett, each with their own compelling case. Detroit Lions, say 420%. The Lions have been building a young, dynamic defense led by rising star Aiden Hutchinson. Adding Garrett would transform Detroit's defensive line into one of the league's most fearsome units. With ample cap space and a talented roster, the Lions are serious contenders for Garrett, and acquiring him would make them a legitimate Super Bowl threat in the NFC. Chicago Bears, 420%. The Bears, with significant cap space heading into 2025, are in a rebuilding phase centered around their young core, including rookie quarterback Caleb Williams. Bringing in a veteran like Garrett could elevate their defense while providing much-needed leadership for their developing roster. Garrett's presence could help solidify Chicago's defense as they look to climb back into contention. Philadelphia Eagles, 910%. Already boasting one of the NFL's most dominant defensive lines, the Eagles are always a team to watch when big-name players become available. The thought of adding Garrett to a rotation that already features Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, and other elite talent would give Philadelphia an unstoppable front. This move could give the Eagles a significant edge as they chase another Super Bowl title. Washington Commanders, 910%. The Commanders' defense has been their strong suit in recent seasons, and the addition of Garrett would push them into the upper echelon of NFL defenses. Pairing Garrett with Chase Young and Jonathan Allen would create a terrifying trio that could wreak havoc on any offensive line. Washington could become a dark horse contender if they pull off this trade. Conclusion: the Green Bay Packers are currently the front-runners in the race to acquire Myles Garrett, according to betting odds. Their combination of need, financial flexibility, and a clear desire to improve their defense puts them in prime position to make a move before the deadline. While the Lions and Bears are close behind, the Packers seem to have the inside track to secure Garrett's services. Adding Garrett would not only solidify Green Bay's defense, but also position them as serious contenders in the NFC, capable of making a deep playoff run. As the trade deadline approaches, all eyes will be on the Packers as they aim to land one of the NFL's most game-changing defenders. Whether or not Garrett moves, the potential impact of this blockbuster trade is monumental, and the Packers are ready to pounce.